Hi, and welcome to When They Dare to Be Powerful, a podcast series celebrating the legacy of Black women in librarianship. This series highlights the contributing authors and the extraordinary librarians featured in the book, The Legacy of Black Women in Librarianship, which was edited by Dr. Nicole A. Cooke. Together, these stories honor the brilliance, resilience, and leadership of Black women who have shaped and continue to shape our profession. I'm your host, Dr. Cearra Harris, and in each episode, we center the voices behind this important work, exploring their contributions, their scholarship, and the lasting impact of the women they uplift. Each conversation of this series offers you an opportunity to reflect on legacy, what it means, how it's built, and why it matters. These stories remind us that Black women have always been powerful forces in librarianship, even when their work went unrecognized or undocumented. Before we dive in, if you haven't already, I really encourage you to grab a copy of this amazing title. It's an essential read for librarians, information professionals, scholars, and really anyone who is committed to preserving and honoring our collective history. On today's episode, I had the pleasure of speaking with Dr. Jason Alston. Dr. Alston highlighted the legacy of Henrietta Mays Smith in their chapter. Dr. Alston is a professor of library science at the University of Missouri. Hailing from Soul City, North Carolina originally, Dr. Alston earned a bachelor's in English from the University of North Carolina at Wilmington, a master's in library science at North Carolina Central University, and a PhD in library and information science from the University of South Carolina. Dr. Alston is a member of Phi Beta Sigma fraternity and enjoys eating and resting when not working. I know that's right. I am so excited to share this conversation with you. It is fantastic. I feel like that's something you're going to hear me say as we progress through the series, but you all are in for a treat. Let's jump straight into it. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so excited to have an opportunity to speak with you. You know, we're talking all about when they dare to be powerful. But before we get into your chapter, tell me just a bit about yourself and your background.
Yes, sure. I have been in the library science field really since 2006. That's when I started library school at North Carolina Central University, which you probably already know, but I always do make that plug. North Carolina Central University is currently the only HBCU with an accredited library science program here in the United States. So I got my library degree in 2008, and started as a librarian, got my first librarian job at UNC Greensboro that same year. I was 25 years old when I got my first librarian job, so I really was probably at that point one of the 10 youngest Black male librarians practicing because there weren't and still aren't that many others to begin with. And so at 25, it was very unique to have somebody doing what I was doing. And really, I'll spare you the whole story as to what drew me into librarianship, but what I'll say is that it was I had gotten a scholarship while I was in library school. North Carolina Central extended a scholarship opportunity to me through their Diversity Scholars Program, and I will say that that was a big retention thing. In the future, if we're looking at retention and that sort of thing, I would do applaud scholarships because, quite frankly, had I not gotten that scholarship, I would have probably dropped out after my first semester and not become a librarian. But the scholarship kept me in. I got the degree because I got it for free. And then I will soon be, next year will be my 18th year as a professional librarian. And yeah, I plan to do it till I retire. So all that to say that I do champion the diversity initiatives and the scholarships, and we need to be serious about the money if we want to diversify.
I 100% agree. I would not have my MLIS or doctorate had it not been for the Spectrum Scholarship. So, it's
Okay.
behind me, it's a part of everything I do. So, what inspired you to participate in this project and contribute a chapter to When They Dare to Be Powerful?
All right, and I'm going to give a very honest answer there. Um, what inspired me was actually Dr. Cooke. I mean, don't get me wrong. I was interested in the subject matter and everything, and I like doing biographies. That's probably like one of the key things I like to do is like short biographies on Black professionals and that sort of thing. Because I've done little pieces on E.J. Josie before and that sort of thing as well, and I'll probably do more on some other people in the future. So in this case, this was something that I would have been interested in anyway, but Dr. Cook was on my dissertation committee, and she's just, I know she hasn't always agreed with the tactics that I've used in this field. I know that for a fact, but I still am just in awe of what she's accomplished and the fact that she did so much for me throughout the dissertation process because she was I'll elaborate a little bit and say that she was my external member. She wasn't at South Carolina at the time. She is now, but at the time she was elsewhere. And I will say that my dissertation was stronger because of her. It wasn't even going to be mixed methods had it not been her. And so she was the one who told me, no, quantitative is not going to be enough. You need to do mixed methods. And she made my dissertation that much stronger, which my dissertation has had an impact on the field. It was about diversity residency programs, and that the information that I got has been used to do seminars and to improve some residencies and things like that. So I do feel it's I mean, just in the Black community, it's a thing, when people look out for you, that they don't have to do that. They do it because we're a village, because we're a people who we are enough and we depend on each other. So the fact that she opened all those doors for me, I was like, hey, I mean, I like doing this sort of thing anyway, but if there's somebody who would not have been covered, um, unless I covered them, by all means, let me know, and I will definitely do the project. And Dr. Cook was actually the one who proposed that I do Henrietta Smith, but I was very pleased with the choice once I actually started digging into her story.
I love that. I think that's just a part of Dr. Cook's character. She sees something
Yes.
sometimes in us that we don't see in ourselves. So the fact that she pushed for you to be a part of this is for a reason. So tell me all about the librarian that you chose, well, that was chosen for you to research and write a chapter about.
Yes, so Henrietta Smith, I am going to say if you really, really want to know the story, read the chapter and everything. And then also there's a great piece on history makers that I actually cited quite a bit. I'm going to make sure that I've got that right. Sorry. No, this is sloppy. I wish I'd have done this beforehand. Yes, so yeah, there's a history makers interview that they did with her many, many years ago that I cited very heavily. She was interviewed by tribute art. No, no, no. Yes, by Adrian Jones. I'm sorry, I just had to find the right one. So this was in 2007 when she was interviewed by the history makers, but you will see that information in the notes if you read the chapter. And I encourage people to watch that interview as well, so that you can actually hear her voice. She's no longer with us. She actually passed while I was writing the chapters. So that was something that was kind of interesting to be profiling somebody and they pass away while you're doing it. So I had to make a few adjustments to the chapter there, but definitely watch that interview from 2007. It's very enlightening. I mean, I watched it several times because I was doing research, but I would watch it anyway. You will have to join History Makers or pay a little fee, which I did out of my professional development. But I still say if you really care about this stuff, it's worth it. It's like $30. So yeah, yeah, but Henrietta Mays Smith, just to give you a little bit of a nutshell, she was raised in New York in the Harlem area. Now I can't remember if she was actually born there, but she was definitely raised there. She was raised poor, but did not know she was poor, which is something that you hear from a lot of our Black elders. Their parents and their family and their communities made everything so rich back in those days that the life was rich, even if their parents didn't have a lot of money and they grew up poor, the life was rich, the lifestyle was rich, the culture was rich. And so that's part of Henrietta Mays Smith's story is that, yes, she grew up very talented, as a talented reader, as a talented, she played the piano, so talented in music as well. And just had a sense and had a I'm gonna get religious with it a little bit because I do believe in God. I gave my life back to Christ recently. And I will say that also her faith was something, her involvement in church, which you hear that again in our stories as Black people, you hear that a lot. And certainly she is no stranger to that. So and she had gone, so she had had some unique experiences that I do think helped color her perspective and make her somebody who could stand out and offer some different things. So, like for instance, she actually went to a predominantly Jewish high school. And so instead of going to a predominantly Black high school and like a lot of the people in Harlem did, and so that colored her perspectives and everything and showed her some just some different options in life. So after that, after school, she just thought she was going to become a teacher. So she went to college. And well, yeah, I won't spend too much on that. Again, read the book, but and read the chapter. But yeah, so she goes to college. She actually ends up volunteering and working at a library, a public library in New York after college, and also meeting her future husband around that time. But she was actually separated from her husband for a bit. He ended up getting a good job opportunity down in Florida, and he went down there. She remained in New York for a while, and attended library school up in the New York area. And so that's when, yeah, she had originally wanted to become a teacher, but then she decided through volunteering and everything at the library, she did decide that that was a better course for her. And from there, the rest was history. Yeah, she ends up getting a job with New York Public Library. She stays there for a while until she's able to go be with her husband down south. And she ends up in Florida. At first, she was, and she had taught, I mean, not taught, she had acted as a librarian for many, many years. But then I believe it was in the late 70s or early 80s when she ended up going to Florida Atlantic University, FAU, and she taught literature and also language arts for the School of Education down there because she did also I can't remember the details exactly now, but she had gotten an EDD at that time. So she had a doctorate degree. So, and you don't necessarily need a doctorate degree, of course, in order to teach in the College of Education in a lot of places, but certainly having one helped. So, she became a professor. Then she becomes a professor at Florida State. And from there, yeah, that's what she did until, well, until it was time for her to retire. But then she really didn't retire. And that's one of the also amazing things as I wrap this up. One of the other amazing pieces about her is that, she didn't really retire. She continued to tell stories. She continued to, uh, teach and promote and just be an advocate for the field really until she died. And, two of her well one of her big lasting legacies. Now she has a lot of lasting legacies, don't get me wrong, but one of her lasting legacies was being instrumental in the Coretta Scott King book awards, which are awards for Black children's books and that sort of thing. So yeah, huge legacy there and very impactful, renowned storyteller even internationally. I know she did some storytelling in Latin America as well and excelled in that. So very amazing person that I encourage all of you to learn more about.
I love that. You spoke about her legacy. I'm curious, after you've done this clearly extensive research on her, has it, how did your writing or your research deepen your own sense of purpose within our field?
Yes, absolutely. So, one thing that, and this might be a little controversial, but I don't, I don't shy away from controversy. So, one thing that I'm going to say about her, and this won't be too bad, but one thing that I think is worth acknowledging about Henrietta Mays Smith is that her work with the Coretta Scott King Awards that led to the Belpre Awards, and I'm hoping I'm saying that right, Pura Belpre, and that is it's basically the Latinx or Hispanic equivalent to the Coretta Scott King Awards, and it's administered by Reforma, and that's the thing when actually in New York as well, but definitely when uh, Dr. Smith came down to Florida. She had a lot of students who were Hispanic, Latin American, that sort of thing. You have quite a bit of that population in Florida. And So what you will see, you don't see it as much because I had like writing constraints, I had space constraints in the book. But one thing that you'll see is that she's not just influential with Black practitioners. She's influential with BIPOC of all backgrounds and white practitioners too. I don't want to leave that out. She influenced white practitioners as well. But with Latinx practitioners, she was very influential there, had a role in there. And that's the thing. One thing that I don't want Black librarians to lose sight of, and again, this has been a little controversial, but this is one of my huge beliefs. I don't want us to lose sight of the fact that really other populations of people of color, they tend to draw inspiration from what Black Americans do, from the African American plight and struggle and that sort of thing. And I mean, that's the thing. We've been fighting white supremacy in this country even since before the country began. It didn't start in 1776 for us. It started back in 1620. You know what I'm saying? So, with that said, this her work and seeing how her work inspire other people of color, I do think that that's something that should be. Again, I think that Black librarians, we need to acknowledge and we need to own the fact that the things we do inspire other populations of color because they haven't been in this country as long as we have, just to be honest with you, unless they're Native American, and I do want that to be clear, of course. But outside of that, yeah, your immigrant populations, a lot of times we have a lot of Latin and Asian and other populations here that haven't been here as long, and they don't know the tools for fighting white supremacy the way we do. And so, as we continue to do things within BCALA or as Black librarians in general, we have to remember that there are people watching us and drawing inspiration from us. And yeah, let's just continue to be the light because, the way I see it, once we all realize that our differences are not things that make us better or worse than one another, but once we realize that our differences are beautiful things that can be highlighted, then I think that people can say, then other populations of color can look at the Black community and say, okay, this is the stuff they did. This is the stuff that's been impactful. We can't just duplicate what they do, but we can take this as an example and consider our own needs and things like that. And, we can borrow, but then tailor this to do what's going to be the most effective for us.
We've shared so much about Dr. Smith, and we want readers to pick up a copy of the book. So I don't want you to share the central message. I want them to just check out the chapter. But I want to
Okay.
know, how do you expect readers to feel? Like, how do you want them to feel after reading Dr. Smith's story through your chapter?
So after people read that, what I want them to do is just know that they can accomplish first as well. So when you read that chapter, what you're going to see is that I kind of lead by her first. She has a legacy of first. She was the first this, she was the first that. And and I've had a little bit of a legacy related to that myself. I was not nearly as deep as her, but I was the first resident librarian at UNC Greensboro, which still has a residency going. I was the first Black male, not the first Black person, but I was the first Black male to graduate with a PhD in library science from the University of South Carolina. And I've got a few other firsts, but what I want our people to do is know that we always have been and always can be and continue to be trailblazers. I like celebrating the first of my students. One of my students, Jason Broughton, he was the first ever Black state librarian for the state of New Hampshire, and he's also a South Carolina alum. So, it's these sorts of things. You all, anybody who's listening to me right now, I want it to be very, very clear. You can be the first to do something. And that is something that you will always carry with you, that pride of being the first to do it. And especially if you have loved ones, your parents, your children, your family, whatever, your spouse, whoever. But be that first for something. First of all, the library field does need you to break down those barriers, but then once those barriers are broken, again, that's something that you'll never forget. You'll always, even as you're reflecting on your life and you're in that hospice bed, hopefully many, many years from now. But when you're on that hospice bed, ready to go meet our maker and everything, one thing that you'll be able to reflect on is, yeah, I was the first to do that. And that did help a lot of other people. And so I'm glad I can, as I go to the next phase, I'm glad to be able to say that, yes, this was a first that I contributed to people to help inspire them and to help make this world a better place.
I appreciate you for saying the things that sometimes go unsaid and being fearless and courageous to speak up for us and for people that look like us and information professionals that look like us. So thank you. I want to encourage readers to go check out chapter 12 of When They Dare to Be Powerful. Thank you for putting your heart clearly and your soul and everything into your chapter and as well as into the work that you do every day to push our people forward within this field. I thank you so much for it. I'm so excited. Readers, y'all are in for a treat reading chapter 12, reading every chapter, but definitely
Yes.
checking out chapter 12. Thank you so much, Dr. Jace.
Thank you.
I want to thank Dr. Alston again for their meaningful contributions to the legacy of Black women in librarianship. This work and your work, Dr. Alston, is powerful, necessary, and deeply affirming, and we are a better profession because of it. Y'all, if you haven't grabbed your copy yet, go ahead and click purchase and spend some time with these stories. They deserve to be read, remembered, and shared. Thank you all for listening to another episode of When They Dare to Be Powerful. I'm Dr. Cearra Harris, and I cannot wait to see you in the next episode.